thank you all so much for contributing to this channel by pressing a red button. It really does mean the world to me to watch the number go slightly higher every time, and what that represents is us coming more and more together to make numbers go slightly higher and have good times with card games. So to celebrate this occasion, we are going to have a stream this weekend where I'm going to give away a bunch of playmats, I'm going to give away some cards, I'm going to open a first edition box of Arcane Rising, I'm going to allow people to buy packs from that box so that they can get the cards, and I will give one slot away to somebody there on the stream. So if you want a pack of Arcane Rising First Edition, hop into the Discord and I'll post about that today. And if you want to try and win, show up on that night and then we'll pick somebody from chat and maybe you'll get a free pack of Arcane Rising. And heck, if you get a cold foil like Stormstriders, oh my god, the feelings that I would have for you. The other thing that this says is that it pushes us closer to our ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of hitting 18,005 subscribers. We're so close to hitting that number. Look, you could contribute by pressing the button and making a number go to another number. We had another fierce weekend of competition in the classic constructed meta world, and the meta is, well, kind of swirling all around. We had some big heavy hitters that you kind of expected in Bravo showing up in top 8s, Dash showing up in top 8s, and even a Bolton. But then there were the outliers, and that's what we're going to talk about today, both within the battle-hardened Liverpool and in the AGE February Open, which is a long-standing LSS-approved and community-run event system that is running over in the SoCal area. So we're going to take a look at the results from that one, because there was a top 8 deck that absolutely no one would have expected. So I want to start with Colin Erikson's top 8 deck list for Kasai, because I'm pointing out the fact that Kasai was underrated and still showing up and kind of popping up in some top 8s here and there. And here in the AGE Open, Colin took this deck to the top 8 and just lost to, well, we'll talk about the deck that he lost to in top 8, but I was cheering him on. I think he was like 6-1 through Swiss. And looking at the deck list, it is very similar to, you know, more of the traditional deck lists that we've talked about prior. So we're running the Centauri and the Hot Streak combo. We're getting the value off of Valiant Dynamo. I actually very much like the inclusion, and this is what I moved to not too long ago, the just Spring Tunic value. And I have as a secondary option, not Courage, but instead the Grains of Bloodspill. Courage is an interesting one because it means that you can play Blood on Her Hands off of a 1-card hand and have all the effects turned on if you only have like 4 copper. And so that's a kind of a cool little addition there. But everything you would expect to see here in Iron Song Versus instead of the other one means that you can kind of threaten another on hit, which feels good. And then the deck is pretty standard in construction. You've got all the Blade Runners, you've got the Blade Flurries, you've got the In the Swings, which you could swap out for Iron Song responses, which I think you could make the argument for. Nourishings, everything that you kind of see. The best colors of the Outland Skirmish and Slice and Dice. The yellows you could run, the blues you could run, but the yellows and blues of Slice and Dice don't have the same punch that the red does, being a 0 for 4. Everything that you would sort of expect. Spoils, triple Blood on Her Hands is an interesting inclusion because we only make copper off of Outland Skirmish. And so having 3 Blood on Her Hands, you're not going to hit as often, but this card just blocks well. It's a yellow block 3, and it goes into the graveyard nicely for Kasai's effect. Triple Cash In, which is what we're going to be using our gold for. Double Raisin Army, not 3 of, so that we're able to more easily and more comfortably play Cash In off the gold. And then this is great just in specific matchups like Guardian that's trying to play more defensively. We've got a nice little rainbow here of hit and runs, only 2 yellows and 3 blues. The blues are just fantastic. The yellows, I think, are nice in a pinch, and you can kind of do some little tricks here and there with them, but otherwise they're just yellow block 3s, and they give go again. The same sort of thing that you would expect, run through, glint. Some number of precision press has become a mainstay in my deck. I have 2 right now, and then overpower. I actually knocked one of these down, so technically I have these kind of flipped around, but I love those. And Heart of Fiendal is one that is a contentious choice, but I'm going to start playing with it and see what I think about it, because in those long games, this does give you the capacity to play a little grindier and come back from a deficit. And then your big splashes happen here in the inventory, where we have triple Command and Conquer, triple Command and Performance, so these are great for either of your matchup types, poppers and also just on hits, or if your opponent literally wants to play a mid-range game plan but runs primarily attacks, then this is fantastic. 1 Fate Foreseen and 3 Sink Belows, and then a splash of Steelblade Shunts. This card is so good off of Tunic. It is the play. 2 Oasis Respites for Kano, along with our AB3 in the top there. And 1 Remembrance. I don't know, man. I am such a 2 Remembrance kind of guy. Maybe I need to cut down to 1. Maybe 1 is only necessary. But it feels like a crutch for me almost to put 2 Remembrances in. And I have to take a leap of faith and just cut to 1. But I love this list. This is pretty similar actually to the list that I was putting together as more of a traditional list that I've been playing. And Colin piloted it so freaking well. Go watch the AGE Open coverage. He was doing incredibly well, lost 1 game in the Swiss, and unfortunately dropped a game in the quarterfinals, and dropped it to Tekla Vossen. And before we dive too far into this list, if you want a full breakdown of this list, check out Alan Lube's interview with Connor on this exact list. They talked about it for an hour. It's a great listen. I listened to a good chunk of it, and I highly recommend it. Go become a Luber. Go to Alan Lube's YouTube channel and become a Luber, because that's pretty cool. This is Connor Davenport's Tekla Vossen, kind of I would call it a mid-range combo deck. And I think everybody on chat that was watching live, including myself, was just so hyped for Tekla Vossen to actually be doing some stuff. The way this deck functions is it plays towards Singularity, which is the legendary specialization that transforms your hero, your weapon, and 4 evos that are equipped into the Mechropotent. And you have the same life that you did before, but you become Iron Man, and you pay 3 to attack with him, and you banish 2 cards from your soul to attack for 6. You can block for 6 in Battle Worn, so it's never going to explode like the mech does. It only have 3 intellect, but when you attack with this and attack a hero, it forces them to discard a card. Before blocks and anything, they just discard a card. So technically, they also have 3 intellect as well, which is kind of cool. And then it gives all your mech attacks go again. And why is this good? Well, 1, you're forcing cards out of their hand. But 2, it means that on a 3-card hand, you can just draw 2 blues and a Terminator tank or a War Machine or even an Annihilator engine. And you can play these, as long as you're Singularity mode and Mechropotent mode, you can play these for 3 cost, 9 attack, overpower with an on hit. Like, for example, this is 3 cost, 9 attack, overpower if it hits, or when it hits, I should say, because it's gonna. They discard a card. So if you're playing off a 3-card hand and you're playing Terminator tank, and they can't block it, they lose a card. And then you attack with Tekla Vossen, and it forces a card out of their hand again. So they are playing from behind the moment you flip to Tekla Vossen. And that is really, really cool. Now, how do you actually get there? Well, you're going to run all the Cogworks bases and the Proto Arms, and then we have 2 Fabricates just in case one of our blocking equipments explodes. But the only Evos we're running are the blue ones. The blue ones, we're not going into the red ones that have Battle Worn. We're just focused on these blue ones so that we can play towards this very quick combo setup. And to save ourselves the life from blocking with these and kind of protecting our life total to set up all 4 of these, we have defensive tools like Sink Below, Fate Foreseen. We've got value attacks like Junkyard Dog that can scrap, Liquid Cool Mayhem that's cheaper, and Scrap Trader that can scrap so that we can get the blocked controllers that we've blocked with, or the Steel Soul Memories, and then put them in Banish to play them on our opponent's turn or on our turn. And then, of course, we have more defensive tools here. So we're playing defensively. We have some sideboard options, and we have, just very clean blocking options into specific matchups, and Warmonger's Diplomacy is a good card. But the whole point of this is to play this sort of value game plan, take what our opponent's giving us, block efficiently, block rather well, so that we can set up for flipping a Singularity. And honestly, it worked. You watched this on camera, and it worked. It was very well piloted by Connor, and he took it all the way to the semifinals, where unfortunately he faced a Dromai, and that just did not seem very comfortable. You do have poppers, but once they get a bunch of little dragons, it's just so hard to actually, extract value from your cards, especially when you're trying to assemble your equipment as you go. So congratulations to both of those first 2 deck list pilots, I should say, because it was a fantastic watch. Again, go watch the AGE Open. It is a blast to watch. They're doing one every month. They've been doing one every month. They have great coverage and fantastic commentary as well. If you don't know anything about them, just know that the commentary is super on point and very, very good. So those are two of the decks we're going to talk about, but the one that perhaps is the most spicy, the most exciting, is a Prism list that won the Battle Hardened in Liverpool. This is Rob's first place Prism Awakener of Soul list, and this is a really cool just overall list, and it's very combo centric, and there's a lot to talk about. And if you want to see the entire breakdown of this from Rob, go check out Push the Points channel. They did an interview they released today, in fact, and it is super in depth. I'm just going to give you the like 25-mile back view of the whole thing, the zoomed out view. But this is essentially a aggressive combo list with Vestige of Soul as one of the linchpins. You don't have to play it in every matchup. You can just play Empyrean Rapture. But it is incredibly refined in comparison to what we were playing with before, namely because we have access to Luminar's Angel's Glow. So how do we build this deck and what does it function? Well, we've got a big chunk of Heralds because these Heralds are going to get guaranteed go again off of pitching a yellow in Luminaris, right? They're going to guaranteed go again there, and we have Figments that are going to guaranteed go again if we flip them and we get the Angel side. Okay, so those are the main points, is that we are attacking with these Heralds, and of course like a couple of the other Heralds that are scattered in. We're attacking with these Heralds, and we are looking for them to hit go to Soul so that we can pull out these Figments and flip them. It's a very basic kind of game plan, but it's made easier because we have access to kind of on the, go again on a stick, basically, off of pitching yellow cards. So we need a lot of yellows, which is why we have 45, back to the old school style of building. And the Heralds that we're choosing are very powerful for right now. We've got Herald of Protection. This is just making a Spectral. Spectrals don't have that same utility that they used to, but they are still quite good for preventing life. Herald of Tenacity, I love. I've always loved Herald of Tenacity. And if you're trying to push an on hit so that you can go and get a Figment, why not put Dominate on it? Rainbows of Herald of Triumph, because this is a meta with lots of poppers, so we want to make that uncomfortable and make people run 7s or just not pop. And then a Rainbow of Wartune Herald, because they all cost 1. From that point, you're also looking at a couple of splash cards where in aggro matchups, this card just pushes extra damage over the top. And then in popper matchups, this card says you're probably not popping us, I'm sorry, which turns a normal turn into a blowout turn. We have Sea Cats, Celestial Cataclysms, which we can kind of play out there, and we can also just use for every possible effect. We can use it to pitch. We can build our Soul and actually play this into certain matchups. I should point out there is a great library of Solana, and we do have a lot of yellows, and there's not a lot of yellows in the meta right now, and so you could get some value off of that. But to me, it doesn't feel as much a linchpin of the deck. If you don't have that card, that's probably fine. There are a couple of big combos that you can do with this, namely, and one that was sort of talked about on the Push the Point interview, of which I've watched a little bit of, so I haven't gotten all the way through it, but I'm going to point out a couple combos I see and that have always sort of been lurking. Merciful Retribution is fantastic because this can be played at instant speed in response to someone popping your Angels. If they do that, then popping your Herald, excuse me. If they do pop your Herald, you respond with Merciful Retribution. That Herald now goes to Soul, and they take 1 point of arcane damage, which is quite good because then it triggers your hero effect, which then allows you to go and get Figment. Even if it didn't hit, it just goes to your Soul. So you go get any Figment that you want. And there's a couple of combos that you can do grabbing this. One of the ones that a lot of people talk about is the Figment of Rebirth kind of combo. And the main point of this is not necessarily grabbing the action card, but it's actually once you've flipped this, and if you have Avalon on board with the correct amount of resources, this says when you banish a card from your hero's Soul after attacking, you can go get a yellow card from Graveyard and put it on top of your deck. And what does that do for you? Well, it allows you to do this Arclight Sentinel loop where essentially you can always play an Arclight Sentinel, and if your opponent doesn't have extra action point generation, then they just get locked out of the game because all of their attacks get directed towards Arclight Sentinel, and Spectra is a hell of a keyword. So that is one little combo, is getting Figment, flipping, and getting Avalon. You need a lot of resources for it. Another one that you could do that I've I've actually played against a couple of times, is grabbing Figment of Ravages again, because this comes in for arcane damage, and then if you have like the consistent soul generation, you can actually push Arcane 2 here, which is pretty solid. But being able to fetch with Avalon and defend Avalon and then go and grab Figment of Ravages is quite a combo as well. And all of this can sort of hinge on Merciful Retribution. The other combo that this has built into it, and forgive me if there's more stuff, check out the Push the Point with Rob where he breaks it all down. But if there's more stuff, leave a comment down below for other people to see. This is a Tome of Divinity list, meaning that if you get something to go to Soul off of Merciful or even off of an Angel on hit, Herald on hit. I'm going to do that so often. It allows you to play this for one less, because if you're playing Vestige of Soul and something goes into your soul, when you pitch a light card, which most of our deck is light cards, you can now make this Tome of Divinity go 4-3, and that is massive. Pitching a blue to draw 2 cards at instant speed is choice. It's chef's kiss. It is quite good. And so there are some big blowout turns and plays that you can make off of the back of even just a Merciful into a Tome of Divinity, but really more often than not, it's off of a hit into a Tome of Divinity, allowing you to basically draw more cards, throw more damage, and thanks to the Luminaris Angel's Glow, you have access to 2 guaranteed go-agains, pitching a yellow so that you can go Herald into an attack with an Angel, into another Herald. And that is quite powerful. And it led Rob to first place at the Battle Hardened in Liverpool. And I'll tell you right now, that is perhaps not something you would have expected to see. And that is pretty awesome. And to me, it just says that this meta is so wide open. It is broken open, and you have access to playing just about any hero and doing well with just about any hero, as long as you know how to play your deck, what matchups you're playing into, and you've built the deck in a very methodical and thoughtful and functional way. So congratulations to all these people. Let me know in a comment what you think this meta is going to evolve into over the coming weeks, because we are looming closer and closer, approaching the Pro Tour number 4 in LA, and I am very curious to see how that all shakes out. If you enjoyed this video, continue to make the number go up. If we go up, everyone gets happy. As always, thanks for watching. Boop.